There's been an outpouring of grief for a mother and her 3 children who were burnt to death in their car in Brisbane's east yesterday. There's also anger at the man accused of setting them alight. He's been labelled a monster and a disgusting human being. As police continue to investigate, neighbours and relatives have painted a frightening picture of how a marriage descended into violence.
A community in mourning, shattered by the loss of a mum and her 3 children in the most horrific of circumstances.
How can this happen?
It's a really nice suburb and just devastating.
Aliyah, Lena and Trey, aged 6, 4 and 3, perished in the car. Their mother, 31-year-old Hannah Clark, a trampoline champion, died in hospital overnight, leaving family and friends distraught.
And she's the definition of love when it comes to family. It's not just her family that's crushed, it's the entire trampoline and community, Gymnastics Australia.
R.I.P. you beautiful souls, wrote her brother. I will forever love you all.
Lived, breathed, do anything for those kids.
Their father, former New Zealand Warriors player Rowan Baxter, set them alight.
From what I am seeing, yes, I believe that an accelerant has been used.
Sister-in-law and my nieces and nephew had their lives taken by a disgusting human being. Her parents have exhausted themselves to try and help Hannah escape this monster.
I can say that domestic and family violence paperwork and applications were put to court.
According to the ABS 2006 Personal Safety Survey, 49% of men and women who reported experiencing violence by a current partner had children in their care at some time during the relationship, and approximately 27% reported that these children had witnessed the violence.
The current circumstances of COVID-19 are heightening the risk factors and prevalence of domestic family violence around the world.
But are we, in fact, with this lockdown, putting people in real danger?
There will be some people who are in increased threatening situations in a lockdown and in confinement. That's absolutely happens in most crises in history. We know that. We know from other countries who have been through this that we're a couple of weeks behind. Most European countries, their domestic violence helplines have a 50 to 70% increase in the first couple of days of this confinement period. So it's a no-brainer, and it's very predictable for people that provide those services that you have a couple who already had maybe a history of some domestic violence. You add in financial stress, which is a massive contributor, and then you're telling these people to confine themselves in a home together with children 24/7 and add alcohol. So
the current pandemic is posing risks for women and their children through a higher prevalence of family domestic violence that has ever been seen before. This portrays the help needed for women to seek safety for themselves and their children.
Children are entitled to have access to adequate standards of living to support their physical, mental, spiritual, moral and social development, and the right to protection against all forms of neglect, cruelty and exploitation.
Children are unable to maintain and form strong peer connections, as they may form a lack of empathy or long-term psychological harm from living with a perpetrator of domestic family violence. This also results in victims being denied the basic principle of participation.
Violence and the threat of violence at home creates fear, which destroys family environments and leads to the destruction of families.
When you endure so much violence on a daily basis or on a regular basis, and also in such an unpredictable way, it makes you feel physically and mentally exhausted, drained. It wipes you out. You just try to hide the evidence and get through each day as normally as possible until you realise that you just don't know what normal is anymore.
When leaving these violent relationships, there are significant consequences in their ability to gain financial security and secure housing, which then leads to their risk of homelessness.
Today, this is my message to women. If a relationship does not work, walk away. Fast and steady, walk away. Ask for help. If you don't have the internet, walk outside your house and scream until you seek help. Talk to family, talk to friends, work colleagues. Do not shut them out. and go to the police.
And the fact is that many women affected by domestic family violence will need longer-term support to re-establish their lives and those of their children.
COVID-19 and the implications it will leave on families and domestic family violence is unfathomable. The increasing number of families losing their jobs during this pandemic will put more pressure on families, and DFV will increase due to financial stress and no way of escaping each other due to enforced lockdowns. These new COVID-19 outcomes are adding more stress to our already overworked system of fighting against DFV and assisting with homelessness. Victims are denied or withheld of information relating to support, which reinforces their lack of access and ability to seek education and suitable means of basic human rights such as protection, security, affordable and safe housing.
Unfortunately, domestic family violence is prevalent in our Australian society and the world. With current circumstances, there will be an infinite and heightened risk of domestic family violence cases. It will be our job as a community to support and enable access to victims of domestic family violence, providing emotional, psychological, spiritual, and educative care. So if you see someone who may be at risk of experiencing domestic family violence, have a conversation. Don't be a bystander. Be an active participant in the solution. Help them get the help and support they need.